Working from home definitely comes with some downsides.
I really appreciate you taking the time for this meeting. We've been in preparations for this job for a very long time.
Honestly,
but
yeah. So she was like, "Listen, if we're gonna go on a date."
For better or worse, many of us have found ourselves in a situation where we're forced to work from home, whether we like it or not. And this affected the Icario team as well. When Portugal went into a new round of lockdowns, we couldn't even meet up to work together in the same spot anymore. And here's how that went for the guys.
We set up a makeshift office at our dining room table. At first, it was quite fun. It was even social.
Espresso, lads. Who wants another one?
But as the novelty wore off, we began to realize that this setup was a disaster. In fact, if we carried on working like this, the business was probably going to fail. For one, the kitchen was in my eye line. I kept looking over there and thinking, oh, do I need another coffee, another tea? What about some snacks? Then sometimes people were cooking, sometimes people were watching TV.
Oh, fuck off.
And when we were working together, you would think it was better, but it was even worse. Conversations would be going across the table this way, somebody would be on a Zoom meeting over there, and there was always somebody kind of waving you down to ask you a question, which would distract everybody else. It was just a no-go. Do not set your office up like this.
Unfortunately, most homes are just not great working environments, and this can really cramp your productivity. So in this video, here are a couple of things you can do that are really easy to optimize your at-home working environment.
Lucky for us, I had just arrived in Lisbon and we needed a new apartment anyway, something bigger. This was the perfect opportunity to look for something with a spare bedroom that we could convert into an office space, a dedicated space that wasn't in the living area. It did take a bit of searching and trial and error, but in the end, we found something. We signed the papers, we got the keys, and we moved in. And on the very first day, we took that spare bedroom and turned it into our office space. So we're literally just moving in right now. Plan is to move the bed out of room 1 and into room 3 and move the spare desks then into room 1. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's what we're gonna do to make an office. We're home. Now when you walk in there, you know that this is a space dedicated to productivity and focus.
Now, most likely you can't just pack up and move to a different place in order to have a better work space. But the point here is making a deliberate choice to separate your work environment from your non-work environment. So think about, is there any small way in which you can do that? Can you dedicate, even if it's just a corner of a room, as your office space, and you make a rule that when you're there, you only work, and when you're not there, you don't work. We tend to underestimate how easily distracted we are. And so facing the wall just puts less stuff in your field of vision. Fewer things that can catch your attention, fewer things that can remind you that there's something else that's more interesting going on. One of my rules for an optimal work environment is make sure that everything in your line of sight is basically boring. You don't want to have anything that's more stimulating or more interesting than the work ahead of you. This is especially important if you share your living space with other people. Whether the other people are also working or whether you're trying to work while other people are doing different stuff, just the presence of other people, if you're already facing each other, makes it that much easier to get each other distracted, or to casually toss a question across the desk just because you're already facing that way. And simply having people face away from each other and face the wall cuts down these interruptions without anyone having to make a special effort.
Fortunately for us, this apartment came with desks in it already. But if you don't have a desk for your new dedicated workspace, you can get something exactly like we have, the same thing, for about 35 euros. They're not necessarily the best desks in the world, but they do the job. The problem is not so much the desks for us. It's more about the seating. We're working with these little stools and dining room chairs And for the first hour or two, they're okay. But then after that, your butt really does start to hurt.
Now, you could go out and buy a comfy office chair, but actually there can be a benefit to an uncomfortable chair because it reminds you every hour or so to stand up. Instead of a solution that allows you to sit more comfortably for longer, which, sitting is the new smoking and all that, we don't really want to be doing that. Use the opportunity to create a situation where you switch between standing and sitting in your workspace. Now, the high-end solution for this is to get a motorized sit-stand desk, just like I have in my office, and you can check a video with more on my own office optimization. But before you rush out to spend hundreds of dollars on one of these, you can also get much cheaper desk riser solutions that you just place on top of your existing desk. And as you'll see, there's an even more low budget solution that sometimes works just as well.
If you come down to the recycling bins at nighttime, you are going to find yourself a free standing desk extension. I'm gonna go install this at home in our office. Just hope the box is the right size, otherwise I'm gonna have to come out tomorrow night again and get another one.
In my current office space, I do have motorized sit-stand desks, and they're great. But for many years, I lived and worked as a digital nomad, and I was always improvising. I was always using low-budget solutions like this, whether it's placing a cardboard box on a desk, or if I'm at an Airbnb, maybe there's a little nightstand that I can place on top of the desk to turn a regular table into a standing desk. I worked like that for years, and it works great.
It's not perfect, but hey, I have a standing desk and it didn't cost me anything. And while we're talking about cost savings, let me show you the most valuable thing in the office. And it only costs €3. This and this, paper and pen. This is the distraction log.
When you sit down to work, you'll inevitably get distracted. That's just human nature. It becomes a problem when you either A, give in to those distractions immediately, so you're never doing focused work for an extended period of time, or B, you kind of store those distracting thoughts for later in your mind. And so you're working away and you're thinking, oh, but afterwards I have to make sure to check this, and afterwards I have to make sure to write this down, and so on. It's like you can load down your mind with all these things that come up as distractions. And the best solution is to simply get these distractions out of your head onto a piece of paper. This is what the distraction log is for. Whenever anything comes up that makes you want to divert attention from work, that's a cue to write down what it is that distracts you at that moment in time and then get back to work. By writing it down, you get it out of your head, it's taken care of, and it lets you fully focus back on work. And when you're done with your work session, you can look at your distraction log. Some things might be action items. Many things you'll just see, well, this wasn't important. You just cross them off.
Having a distraction log also helps us further optimize the office. When I looked at my results, I could see that I was looking at my phone up to 10 times per work session. So as a result, we did this. The no phone zone. We declared our office a no-phone zone.
Now, we all know that our phones are massive sources of distraction. I'm sure that's not news to you. We won't go into the details on that. Instead, here's how to deal with it.
You want to see it in eyeline. Basically, it's just a little cardboard box taped to the wall that you stick your phone into before you enter the room. No phones go in, they stay in the box. When you come out, you can collect it again. It's that simple, there's not much more to it.
This box is more important than you'd think. If you watch this and you think, oh yeah, a phone is distracting, I'm gonna make sure not to use my phone while working. That's an intention. And the intention will probably last for like 24 hours or less. If you think, okay, I'm just gonna not use my phone while working, before you know it, your phone is next to you on the desk again, and you're just telling yourself, oh, I'm not using it that often. Or you come up with an excuse about why it's important to have your phone there or whatever. The point is, if you just make a good intention, it is not going to last. Having a box and a simple rule that says, phones go in this box before you enter the room, it is deceptively simple, but it makes a world of difference. because you can follow that rule consistently. It's clear to everyone to see whether you're still following the rule or not. And you no longer have to use any willpower or make any special effort to avoid using your phone while working. That is the power of environment optimization. Everything we've looked at so far is designed to help you keep working and keep focused on work. But what if that works too well? Because another important part of productivity is that you need to have the ability to step away from work and actually relax and rest and not turn into a workaholic. This is also something you can improve with environment optimization, and in this case, one of the things you can try is automation. One of the best things you can do to get rest and switch off from work is to make sure that you're not online and not staring at screens after a certain time of day. And we have a video where we did an experiment on that, which you can check out to see just how much of a difference that makes. Now, how can you enforce this rule? Here's a really simple budget option. You can get a power outlet timer where you can set a specific schedule during which there is either power or no power coming out of that socket. If you plug your router in there and set it to, let's say, power down between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., it means that during those hours, you don't have internet access. Now, just like with the cardboard box, if you tell yourself, oh, I'm just not going to go online in the evenings, that probably won't last. But if your router automatically shuts down at a certain time, well, there you go. The rule is being enforced for you.
We're not using the timer on the router because with the four of us, we work at different times and it's just impossible to coordinate when the internet should be on and off. But what we are playing around with is this here.
Another simple environment hack is to use smart LED bulbs, programmable LED bulbs, where you can also set a schedule. And you can use that in the main light socket in your office space. With a light bulb like this, you can create a visual cue in your environment. So for example, you can program it to change color when it's time for you to quit working. So when your workday ends, even if you're engrossed in your work, you will get that clear visual cue of the color of the light changing.
What's going on here? It's 9 o'clock at night.
At 5 o'clock, the color is going to turn blue.
See that? That means it's the end of the day soon.
So these are some simple and low budget things you can do to optimize your at-home work environment to help you be more productive and more focused. You can also check out our other video we made with a kind of higher end office space optimization. So you can check out the card or the description below for that.
That is all.
Do you have any other home office hacks that you've tried out? Let us know by leaving a comment below. And also, if you have other questions about how to be more productive and generally live a better life using environment optimization, go ahead and leave a question below. Hey, want to get in on the action? We host challenges on a regular basis with other members of our community that include everything from gratitude to productivity to writing exercises and much, much more. To learn more, head over to icario.com and go to the product section to see what you can enroll in. See you on the inside.